Most people don't think about the consequences before committing a crime, no matter how heinous it is. But the law doesn't hold back when it's time to punish the ones who've wronged society and robbed many of their rights, safety, property, and even lives. What's even strange is that people who've already been to jail also don't think twice about breaking the law. Most of these people are counting on never getting caught and never getting punished in case they do. What they don't know is that once their case goes to trial, there's no way to absolutely predict what the jury will decide. Today we'll show you how convicts reacted after hearing their sentence. Number 5. Trey Relford. In 2015, Salahuddin Jitmood was delivering pizza in Lexington, Kentucky when he was murdered. The death of the 22-year-old youth shook the entire local Muslim community. Salahuddin's father was known by many as he was the principal of a local Islamic academy and a respected figure. Trey and 2 accomplices robbed him. He was making his final delivery on the night when he was attacked. Following a trial, Trey Alexander Relford was sentenced to 31 years in prison for his hate crime. Salahuddin was an aspiring artist who wanted to pursue a career in film, but sadly his life was cut short. However, the world is full of kindness, and Salahuddin's father became the one to show his son's murderer some mercy. In heart-wrenching courtroom scenes, Dr. Abdul Munim Sombat Jitmood offered Trey Relford his forgiveness. He also went on to say that he forgave Trey on behalf of Salahuddin and his mother. He said, "Forgiveness is the greatest gift or charity in Islam. I have to pour myself out to forgive someone that has wronged our family." After his statement, Relford also expressed his remorse and apologized to the grief-stricken father of his victim. The heartwarming scene of the 2 men hugging with tears streaming down their faces went viral on the internet and garnered a lot of love and respect from the masses. Number 4. TJ Lane. Back in 2012, TJ Lane, a 17-year-old juvenile and former Chardon High School student, shot 6 Chardon High students on February 27th. 3 of those unfortunate students died in the shooting. According to witnesses, the shooter had a personal rivalry with one of his victims. TJ used a bus in common with his victims and used a .22 caliber handgun to shoot his peers. 2 of the wounded students had to be hospitalized, one of whom sustained severe injuries that resulted in permanent paralysis. Ultimately, Lane was indicted on 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated attempted murder, and 1 count of felonious assault. Because he was just 17 at the time, Lane was detained as a juvenile pending a decision on whether he should be tried as an adult or not. TJ was waiting for a bus to an alternative school when he shot the kids. Danny Pat Merton, Russell King Jr., and Demetrius Hewlin were the names of the 3 boys who lost their lives. One might think that TJ simply snapped, but the prosecutor in his case went so far to call him a disgusting human being, and for good reason. TJ arrived at his court hearing wearing a blue button-down shirt, but after sitting down, he unbuttoned it, and from underneath, he revealed a white t-shirt with the word "killer" written on the front. When he was given a chance to speak to the court, his reaction shocked everyone present in the room. Lane pled guilty and received 3 life sentences without parole in March 2013. Number 3. Cameron Herron. Cameron was the 18-year-old driver responsible for the lethal crash that killed a mother and her daughter on Bayshore Boulevard in 2018. According to reports, he was racing his friend Barano, who was driving a Nissan Altima on the 23rd of May 2018. Cameron was driving a black Ford Mustang he had received as a high school graduation gift recently. Jessica Reisinger Robinault was originally from Ohio, but she was visiting relatives in Tampa. The unsuspecting Jessica had gone out for a walk in the morning along with her 21-month-old daughter Lilia in a stroller. While crossing the roadway near Knights Avenue, both the boys pled guilty to vehicular manslaughter. Herron decided to let a judge guide his sentence. He expressed a lot of remorse for his actions. According to state guidelines, a minimum penalty of 18 years was suggested, the maximum being 30 years. Herron's attorney tried to convince the court that there was reason for a sentence lower than the suggested minimum. However, he was sentenced to 24 years in total, 9 for the mother and 15 for the child. And from his reaction, it seems like he wasn't expecting this harsh penalty. The look of horror in his eyes was visible when the sentence was announced, even though the mask he was wearing concealed his face. His mother was seen hugging him and crying for her son before he was taken by the police. However, even after the sentence was appealed, a 3-judge panel upheld his penalty, making him an example for all the rash drivers out there. Number 2. Jordan Fuss. Drinking and driving is one of the most immoral and potentially hazardous crimes anyone can commit. It's never a good idea, not even in an emergency situation. The story of Jordan Fuss, a 22-year-old belonging to Davie, is proof of that. He was driving under the influence of alcohol and resultantly caused a horrifying traffic accident. He had been drinking rum and decided to drive his 2004 Infiniti G35 along with his passenger. Apparently, the passenger was the one who provided him with the beverage. However, later reports revealed marijuana was also found in his system. Just before midnight in the early autumn of 2014, Fuss was driving his vehicle in excess of 90 miles per hour when he crashed into another car at the intersection of Davie and Sterling Roads. Witnesses reported to the police that Jordan's car was swerving in between lanes before the crash.
It sounded like a big boom. Then we seen a car flying by and hit another car coming this way. And they hit somebody at the store, and these two young men just get out and start holding it this way.
And also didn't slow down as he approached the intersection. Inside that car was Nancy Saavedra, her 14-year-old daughter and 6-year-old son. Nancy and her daughter survived the crash, but little Santiago Mondragon, who was strapped in the back seat, was pronounced dead at the site. Fuss was charged with reckless driving, vehicular homicide, and DUI manslaughter as his blood alcohol level tested at 0.21%, which is 3 times the legal limit. During his court proceedings in 2017, he looked visibly scared. He was uncontrollably shaking, and it seemed like he would burst out crying at any moment. His attorney tried to protect him from prison by emphasizing on his intense remorse, but the judge sentenced him to 14 years in prison. Fuss was seen crying throughout his proceedings. However, no amount of remorse can bring back the son Nancy and her family lost. Number 1. Danta Wright. This one has to be the creepiest reaction by a convicted person so far. Danta Wright was only 17 years old when he brutally slayed a teenager named Jordan Klee from Ann Arbor. Jordan was 18 years old at the time of his death and was a student at Pioneer High School. He was supposed to be attending class at school. Instead, he was discovered shot dead in October 2016. His body was discovered by a maintenance worker. According to police, he died at Pine Lake Village Apartments, just a few miles from home. He was a high school senior and a good student who loved playing football. Danta Wright was the accused killer and was supposed to have a pre-trial hearing for the case. Instead, he admitted to committing the crime on that day.
Yes, sir. Mr. Wright, what would you like to say?
I just want to tell y'all, I'll be home soon, or I'll be Keon. I love my family.
According to Danta, he, along with 2 friends, was trying to rob Jordan. However, only a special kind of psychopath murders a young lad and then looks happy for doing that in court. At no point during the proceedings did he show even a minuscule amount of remorse. Instead, he attended all the hearings with a smile on his face. When Jordan's family read out their heartbreaking victim statement, his behavior was pure evil. He sat there smiling and at times even almost laughed. The judge was also disgusted by his behavior and asked the prosecutors if they thought his agreed sentence was too lenient. After all, his behavior would compel anyone to just send his case to trial directly and have him convicted for life. Danta was sentenced to 25 to 52 years in prison in July 2017.